Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 815A, and today's date is November 11th, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Economic Collapse Nightmare Continues. The U.S. government statistical data is meaningless. Before I get started, I just want to wish all those veterans who are celebrating today happy Veterans Day. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, out in the UK, we are seeing the economy starting to, as the corporate media likes to call it, cool off. But what we're seeing right now is basically each one of these countries throughout Europe, Canada, Australia, United States, what's happening is the economies are starting to slide into recession, depression, collapse. Now, each country is at a different point, but we will all meet up at the same location, and that is a collapse scenario, just like we did back in 2008. Now, British retail sales, their growth has declined last month, marking the weakest performance for the month of October since 2008. And this is coming from a survey from the British Retail Consortium. The slowdown they're blaming it on, no, it's not the weather. They're saying that people are now holding off for the Black Friday sales in the UK. Now, when those sales don't go well, what will be their next excuse? Because the US could use the same excuse if the weather doesn't work. They can say people are just waiting for the Black Friday sale. Oh, people are actually waiting for the Cyber Monday sale. Or people are just waiting for a couple days before Christmas before they actually do their shopping. All they do is continually come up with more and more excuses explaining away what is really going on here, and that is the economy is falling apart. The people do not have the funds to go out and purchase like they once did. They don't want to admit that. In Canada, it is a complete bloodbath. Canada is slipping into a deep recession. Canada crude contagion, Calgary home prices dropped most in 2 years. Canada's biggest oil casualty to date, Calgary's Nexen Shutters oil trading desk. The Canadian housing bubble has begun to burst. We're seeing everything starting to fall apart here. And the stage right now is set for a massive housing market correction in Canada's oil patch. The first official recession in Canada in 7 years. And we are seeing that everything in Canada is starting to take a toll. And as we move forward, it is not going to get better. Using data from the real estate brokers, including Jones Lang LaSalle Inc. and Avison Young, Bloomberg calculates the vacancy rate in Canada is already at a 5-year high in Calgary, and rents are the lowest since 2006 after thousands of office jobs were completely cut. So what are we seeing right now? Well, the vacancy rate has surpassed the 2009 highs. We are back from once we started. We're back to the Great Recession, and it's only downhill from here. I mean, this comment is from Alexei Olszewski, an office leasing principal at Avison Young. And this is what he says. It's a bloodbath. We're at the highest point of fear and uncertainty now. Because if things are falling apart like this right now, as we move forward, it's not going to get any better. The bubbles are bursting. Here in the United States, what are we hearing? Retail weak, retail declining, October sales not going well, November sales predicted not to be good. Macy's is already out there. And they're saying that Q3 sales, complete miss. And they're saying the sales have tumbled by 3.9%, far worse than they expected. They only expected a negative 0.4%. But that's kind of odd in itself because more people have work. And if more people have work, don't more people have more money to spend? And doesn't that mean they're going to spend it all in retail? But we're seeing the opposite. As the unemployment rate comes down, retail is contracting. Home sales are starting to contract. Mortgage applications are starting to contract. Something doesn't make sense. And we know what it is. The government, once again, their statistical information, it's a complete lie. Their numbers are completely meaningless. So last year was a better year with higher unemployment. And the year before that was even better. So this tells us the real unemployment is actually increasing. And now we're at an all-time high. Many people put the unemployment rate around 30%. Now there's all different calculations that they use. Some say it's 22%, some say 25%. And we can see right now the government continually manipulates all these numbers. Right now, Macy's has also slashed its full-year same-store guidance down from a flat negative 1.8% to negative 2.2%, with sales projected to drop negative 2.7% to negative 3.1%. And what they're saying is that the U.S. consumer is bad and it is getting worse by the day. Now, of course, they can't blame this on the weather because there's no snow. Can they say it's too warm out? Maybe. But it's all leading back to the same thing. And guess what that is? It's the economy. It's an illusion. And now we're seeing the cracks in the government numbers. They don't make any sense. And once we go through this holiday season, guess what? It's just going to get worse. And their statistical numbers will make no sense whatsoever. People will look at it and go, that's not even what's really happening here because I lost my job and I can't find a new one. Holiday sales are down. All the stores that I once knew are closing. People are being laid off left and right, and we're continually seeing layoffs. Now, we are seeing that the U.S. consumers are not spending. And out of Bank of America's latest credit and debit card usage data, we can see there are 10 U.S. metro areas where, guess what? Retail sales have completely imploded on itself. We're looking at Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston, Washington, Atlanta, San Francisco, just above 0%. We're starting to see it take its toll. And everyone says, well, it's great over here in this city. Guess what? It spreads, people. What do you think happened in 2008? Do you think every city, every town, every state at the exact same time imploded? No. It happened in different areas first. Now, people didn't want to believe it was happening, and then it spread to another city, then another city. It's a domino effect. This is what we are seeing right now. It's the same thing with real estate, the same thing with retail, the same thing with jobs. It hits different areas first, and then it spreads up to your area. Where once you were like, whoa, everything is fine here, the next morning you wake up, what just happened? So it's not just cities that we're seeing this, where consumers can't go out and pay for these goods. We are seeing this in states like Texas is a complete disaster. They're in a recession right now because of all the jobs they lost in the energy sector. U.S. consumers right now are running on fumes. If we look at supermarkets, restaurants, we're seeing that sales in supermarkets and restaurants, they're falling right now. So what does this tell us? This is an indicator of how the upper middle class is faring. The downward inflection point in early 2015 is problematic right now because this shows us that the high-end consumer is now rolling over. Bottom line, the sudden weakness in discretionary spending is far less about migration to online sellers as it is about the ongoing decline in the purchasing ability of the U.S. middle class. And this is what the corporate media wants you to believe, that Oh, everyone is not shopping at the brick and mortar stores. They're moving to online sales. But guess what? Online sales are not reflecting this. And just because we have one company like Amazon where people are going to purchase, this doesn't make up the entire brick and mortar system. And their sales don't reflect what we're losing in the brick and mortar arena. So that argument is completely false, just like all the others they're trying to use. It makes no sense. Now, as we go forward here, we're seeing that Obamacare, the premiums continually are moving up. They're increasing every single day. And they're increasing 3 times faster than Obama said they were going to. Actually, Obama said they're going to be inexpensive. They're going to be affordable. Well, we know he lied. But what we're seeing right now is people cannot afford the health insurance. And they're taking all their funds right now and putting it into health insurance. And eventually what happens is when these premiums continually rise, they're just going to drop their health care. Obamacare is a disaster and it will implode. We are seeing this already. 50% of the co-ops around the country bankrupt, not working out. UniCredit has upped its layoffs. They are going to lay off 18,200 people. Carlsberg is going to lay off 2,000. AK Steel, here's an update. They're going to lay off 1,100 people now. As we move forward, it's getting worse and worse. U.S. home mortgage applications, they have declined by 1.3%. The week ending November 6th. All we are seeing right now is everything declining and imploding. The only thing the central banks have left, the U.S. government has left, is their manipulated stock market and their manipulated precious metal market. That is it. This is the only thing they have left to keep going because all their other statistical numbers are absolutely meaningless. Manufacturing is declining. The Baltic Dry Index now has fallen to 599. This is the raw material used to produce goods. And it all goes back to the fake unemployment numbers. If we were truly at 5% full recovery, people would be going out saying, I feel confident in my job. We have full employment. Let's go to retail and purchase. Retail would be expanding. Manufacturing would be producing to supply the goods. Raw material would be needed. We are seeing the opposite occur right now. Social Security Administration spending hit a record high in 2015. $944 billion. Very close to $1 trillion. That's $6,345 for every American with a job. And we can see right now, as we move into 2016, this economy is going to enter a depression, a deep depression. We're already on the fringes of a depression, and it will accelerate further down into a collapse. And the government is going to lose their voice on how the economy is doing. They will not be able to say we're in a recovery because as more and more people are laid off, more and more stores are closed, it gets harder and harder to explain away. And once that market comes down, that's it. Because they will not be able to keep this up forever. What blows up usually pops. And when it pops, it brings down everything. We've seen this time and time again. And we're seeing it now. Listen, everyone. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.